Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Fast Performance Baseball Podcast. I'm your host, Cole Thomas. On this week's episode, we have a very special guest, Mr. J.L. Buchanan. J.L. is one of my greatest influences in my career and in my line to become a coach. He is the head coach at Porterville Community College out in California. We talk about his journey from, his playing career all the way now to coaching, coaching at Taft College, coaching at West Hills, Coalinga as an assistant coach, and being the head coach of the Colorado Cyclones, which is where I met JL and where we first interacted. He is a 5-time MHCBL champion with the Cyclones, dominated the league while I was there and beyond. We talk a little bit about his coaching philosophy at Porterville. We talk a little bit about his time with the Cyclones and what he learned. And we talk about, what he focuses on as a new head coach at a struggling program that has not had a big history of winning. So we go through all that. It was a very fun interview. I had a lot of fun doing it. It was a lot. You could tell by my reactions in the video. If you guys watch this on YouTube, I really had a lot of fun talking to JL. I know you guys will too. Here he is, JL Buchanan. JL, thank you for coming on the show. It's awesome to see you.
Great to see you too, Cole, man. It's been way too long, I'll tell you that.
Wait, you're slumming it out in the valley, dude. I never get to see you anymore.
I know, man. I'm gonna make it home one of these days. So I heard things at Fast are going well. So I'd love to come back and check out the facility. I know it's changed a ton since I was back in Denver, dude. So
I know we're getting a shit ton of your guys coming in now. I think. Actually, as we speak, Cramwich is right downstairs, so he knows you're on right now.
That's awesome, man. I love Jason, so I can't wait to see what the future holds for that guy, man.
I know. When he gets over the little bit of that injury bug, because he's going to Metro now, right?
He's going to go play for Coach Strain, Metro State, baby. So
that's a good spot.
Great spot.
So for guys who, I guess, don't like. Because you're not as active on social media nearly as much as I am. Maybe that's the generation gap. But so give guys who are listeners or, guys who are going to watch this on YouTube, guys who listen to this on wherever they listen to their podcasts, give us a rundown, what's your background and what eventually got you into coaching?
Well, I grew up in Greeley, Colorado. I grew up a coach's son, right? So I was always around coaching, around my dad. I got to learn a lot from him. Not so much the X's and O's, but just how you treat people. He was always good at treating people differently based on their personalities. So I got to learn a lot of emotional intelligence traits from him, and I still have friends this day that tell me like, your dad was my favorite coach I've ever had, and I just. It shocks me at times, because like we were 13, 14, 12, whatever, but they just liked how he treated them and he got the most out of them. So I learned a lot from him growing up. I played baseball at Greeley West High School, played for Coach Dick Ziegler and Brian Holmes. I learned a lot of like the discipline side of baseball there, just shut up and play. You know what I mean? A lot of triple cuts and relays at practice, PFPs, just, old school and just, hardcore, man, just, shoe polish on the cleats before every Legion C game, just wild things that held you accountable that, I felt like prepared me for college. I didn't know that at the time, but it really did. He instilled a ton of discipline into us. I really appreciated that. But, and then I moved on to Trinidad State Junior College, played for Coach Scott Douglas there. We won a lot. We were nationally ranked. 12, 13 game winning streaks. Learned a ton about, a head coach leading a junior college team with only one assistant coach kind of type of situation, with no help hardly, and the psychology behind that, and I learned you can get it done if everybody just helps out, was accountable for things. So I learned that side, mostly baseball and coaching at Trinidad, and and then I went to Colorado Christian University, and I played for Coach Rob Pegg there in the RMAC. I learned a ton from him. He was a completely different coach, and he was somebody that it was never personal. You know what I mean? Like, he was just there to help me. Made me feel super comfortable around him. He was coaching more out of a love-based type of, theory, I guess you would say. But I played my best for him, and that's one thing that I learned from. Like, I didn't play my best in fear-based situations. I played the best for a coach like that. So you'd think at a program where you're winning more, you'd be more comfortable, and it's a complete opposite. And I learned a lot from both guys, and I respect them a ton. But they've played a big role in my coaching philosophy. All right, so learned a ton there, and then after that, I got my master's degree. I got it in coaching and sports science. And I moved on to California to become an assistant coach and a professor at West Hills College, where I coached under Stephen McGovern. He was a former summer ball coach. Birds. Yeah, he was a former summer ball coach when I played for the Denver Cougars. He's now the head coach up in a school in Washington called Columbia Basin College. He's doing really well up there. But I was at West Hills for about 4 years, lived in a small town, Columbia, California. Met my wife there. Had a good time turning the program around. I got to learn a lot about the difference between California JUCO and the rest of the nationwide JUCO. But, I was there for 4 or 5 years. Stephen got a job over at Cuesta College. I wanted to stay in the Valley, so I chose to go work for Coach Vince Mayoko at Taft College, be his hitting coach there. Had a really successful stretch the 2 years I was there. Went back to playoffs for the first time since the 90s, 2 years in a row. I think we hit over 100 home runs in 2 years. So that kind of put me on the map, player development-wise, and as an assistant coach. So, and throughout that time at West Hills and Taft, I was the head coach of the Colorado Cyclones, where I met you. I think my first year there, we finished 4th in the league, and then we won it every year ever since. So I think it was a 5 or 6 year run. I had to eventually close down the program, so we're still undefeated champs. Never been beat. We still have the belt, but I had to shut it down, and I got the head job here at Porterville. My kids. I was having too many kids, so couldn't come back and be with the boys anymore. But I ended up at Porterville during COVID. And when I got the job here, I only had 2 people on my roster. And,
what a hell of a first year to take over.
Yeah, and just been trying to turn this thing into a winner. So that's my background, man. And what drew me into coaching is just, I think everybody has always known I was going to be a coach, including myself. So I don't think I think all the good moments in baseball that I've had with people didn't necessarily draw me in, but it kept me in it, Like, it's a hard thing to come up the ranks as an assistant coach, making a 5G stipend and living in a dorm room, with community showers. Like, it's a wear, with that stuff. So, yeah, man, that's my background. That's what drew me in, and thank God I got a head job and got to move on past some of that stuff.
So what drew you out to, you loved staying out in the Valley, which, everything I've looked at on Google Maps, I've never actually been out there, but I've only heard like stories of from you and guys like Dak, guys like, Wes, guys like Dusty, people who don't listen. These are all people that played with me, played under JL when we were all in the Cyclones.
Yep.
And just what drew you out to being out in the Valley or being out in the, California Community College Association, which for people I guess don't know is that the California Community they're just like its own separate island compared to the JUCOs around the country. They just decided what we've got over 100 community colleges. We're just going to do this all on our own.
Yeah, and it's completely different in terms of like rules. Like there's no athletic scholarships out here and stuff like that, but we can talk about that in a second. But I think what drew me out here, well, initially I thought I was, I'm from northern Colorado, and I get a call to come out and coach in California. I thought I was like going to LA, like I thought I was going to be by the ocean. Little did I know that I was moving to Central Valley, agricultural town, where the nearest ocean's 2.5 hours away.
Yeah, it's definitely not the California.
No, not even close. But I think it's just, I don't know. The Central Valley nights are awesome, man. It's cheap to live here compared to like NorCal and SoCal. So I'm not a big fan of cold weather being a baseball coach. So I like being in shorts and t-shirt every day, palm trees. You have a pool in your backyard instead of a basement, So
right.
I don't have a pool yet, but someday. But, I just kind of fell in love with that, man. Like every day is the summer out here, and the baseball around here has a ton of history. It's just, this area loves their sports. It's a good spot, man. So the other side of it, though, is the lifestyle of being a California community college coach compared to like a D1 or an NCAA coach. Is like there's a lot of time into it, but you're able to come home and see your family every night, right? Because like it's all local, so you're playing a lot of teams that are just an hour and a half away, or 2 hours away, or 45 minutes away. You're not having to fly 3 states away and play a 3-game series Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and leave your wife at home with the kids for 3 days by herself. Like you're not having to go recruit freshmen in high school, and trying to get verbal commitments, and I felt like where I was at in my career, that lifestyle appeals to me a lot more than like, starting over at the NCAA level and having to travel a ton and be out and about all the time. So not saying that I'm against it or would never do it, but when you're raising like a family with a newborn, a 1.5-year-old and 10-year-old, outside of money being tight, you got to be there for them,
Right.
Yeah. So that's what I got for you. It's not a pretty answer, but I just, I just like being out here, bro.
Yeah, we're just here we just want to be real, right?
Yep.
So what are, you're in a conference and you're in an association that is, it's got a long history. It's, it's probably one of the more competitive leagues in the country.
Yep.
I mean, I could roll a penny down the road and I can find 2 or 3 really good baseball players in just about every town. So what are the unique challenges and, opportunities that come with, I'm assuming most of our listeners are usually in the Colorado area, but what's something that would draw them to, playing at Porterville or something like, or community college like that?
All right. So this is what people don't understand about the CCCAA or the CCBCA.
Whatever that abbreviation is.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Is that there's no athletic scholarships here. Okay. And so what California does is they make tuition for their in-state residents super cheap, right? So we're talking like $40 a credit hour, less than $2,000 a year for tuition. You know what I mean? Plus, like they have all kinds of incentives and programs you can sign up for with aid and stuff like that. Like first-year freshmen get laptops for free. Like there's a ton of stuff they do to hook them up. But since there is no athletic scholarships and tuition is what it is, if you're a kid growing up in Fresno, California, and you want to play community college baseball, you're going to pick a community college that fits your needs and is probably close to home, right? So you can live, because at most schools, there's no dorms. That's one thing that's different. So you're either going to...
I first heard like what was going on at West Hills. I was like, it's such a foreign concept to me.
I know.
Nothing really.
Yeah, and
it's like just the school and the facilities.
Yeah, and so you have to if you're coming from out of state, they have to pay 5 times the tuition. So it's like 200, 250 credit hour. And then you also have to find a place to live. So demographics and location in terms of your school's success is kind of in my opinion, it's the hardest part to overcome in the state, right? So I coach in Porterville. It's an agricultural town, and there is maybe 60 to 70,000 population here, okay? And I'm coaching against teams, from Fresno that have 500,000, Bakersfield 500,000, Visalia 200,000 people. So the way community college is set up is you want to stay close to home and play. And in terms of kids to pick from that are local, it's really hard for me to get a kid from Fresno to move an hour and 10 minutes away to Porterville when he can just go to school at Fresno City or at Reedley, if that kind of makes sense. So that's why you see in like the Final Four most every year, for the most part, most of those teams are from major cities, right? Sacramento, Los Angeles, where there's just tons and tons of people to pick from. So it's tough here too is like the good players in Porterville in the area, they want to get out of town and move to a bigger city. So like I've really had to rely on, finding kids with tools that are kind of at small schools that no one knows about, and then kind of relying on out-of-state kids that want to move here, come in and get the opportunity of playing in the Central Valley Conference, one of the best conferences in the state of California, as opposed to maybe going to an NAIA in the Midwest for 4 years. So recruiting is definitely tough here because there's no money to play with. I can't just go give a big arm a full ride. I have to get people to trust me. I have to get them to move here. And I have to, pretty much try and do that 50 times, So it's definitely different than recruiting outside of California, man. So it's wild.
So what, when you're looking to approach, a prospective athlete, and obviously you're a big fan of the Colorado guy because you're a Colorado guy through and through. What are those things that you're looking for? And this is something like, we try to harp on all the time is like, you need to have the skills that make you marketable to coaches, right? Yeah. I think there's this negative impression that kids can be is like, oh, here I am as a sophomore in high school and I throw, 75 to 80 and I just, not with the breaking ball or anything like that, but that's what's going to get them to the next level because that's what makes them successful on their 13U travel ball team.
Yeah.
So we can go into, because you've done that circuit as well, where, what are the kind of athletes that you're trying to search for to come to Porterville?
Okay. So,
and then we can even go like what we were looking for, when we were on the Cyclones, because you were hands down, while you were there, one of the best recruiters in the MHCBL, and kind of always the pride of the MHCBL because you actually gave a shit and tried to put together a good team.
Well, with the Cyclones, man, like once we got that, I was lucky enough to play on good summer teams. Like I played at the NBC World Series 3 times, finished in the top 5 3 times. So I got to see the great side of the NBC World Series. And when you're playing in the Midwest, like it's just such a we would always it's like a treat to the end of the summer. It's like a celebration of our commitment of just being hot out there and sweating and just every day out there trying to get a little bit better, and it's like it's a vacation, and that's how I've always treated it. And I knew once I was out there and once the Cyclones got their first taste of it, I was like, okay, all the fans here like us, right? So our culture must be different than everybody else. And then other teams started noticing, and once we started winning our first year, like that we won the championship, like I retained more players than summer ball teams normally would, right? Like my good players wanted to stay with me instead of go to the Northwoods the next summer, right? Like you stayed with me for 3 or 4 years. Like how come?
I mean, it was the best summers, right?
Yeah.
Like you're saying, like the culture was always better. It was like it's probably in my college years, probably the closest thing I had to like a family, as a group unit. Like, you know, my times at Cloud and my times at Concordia, like there were some guys I liked, but I just never vibed with people as much as I did with the Cyclones.
Right, and then so then that first year we win, and we go to the World Series and we have an outstanding showing, right? And then you retain your good players that want to stay, and get lucky with some players that want to stay, right? And then they know what it takes to win now, right? So who do they go tell? They go tell their friends, and they know, hey, you know, at the World Series, I need a friend throwing 92, not my roommate that throws 81, you know? So they're going to try to level the team up as well. And then they're going to tell their friend, like, hey, the culture here is sick, right? Like, we have fun every day. We never lose. It's like being on your 12U team again, going to, you know, travel ball, you know, but you're adults now and it's even funnier. So, I think that's where it comes from, and that's what's going to happen at Porterville too, is that once people just find out, like, hey, coach treats me good, right? Like, he still holds me accountable, but he treats me great. And it's all based out of love, and it all works in a circle, right? Like, coach needs me, I need them. And I tell you what, like, when you're just wanting big moments the whole year, and the whole team just wants big moments the whole year, it's bound to happen, you know, because that's all the team wants. Like, once day one starts at the end of May, when we're playing in Kansas to open up, you know, non-conference, like, what's, you know, everybody's thought is still like, okay, this is day one, but where do we want to be at in August? The whole team knew where we wanted to be at. We wanted to be at Lawrence Dumont for 2 weeks, staying in a hotel, you know? So I think once they just get a taste of the dream, they want to go back to it every year. And that's how recruiting with the Cyclones was, man. Like, we were a success right away, and it was just hard to stop us because of the way we did everything every day. So,
right. So how are you translating what we did with the Cyclones into what now you try to do at Porterville?
All right, so I had to, you know, at Porterville, the culture is great. Like, I have players tell me, like, you know, if we would just win more, this place would be the best ever. I'm like, hey, I agree, bro. But, you know, I had to fill a roster quickly. I had a ton of transfers, right? Like, guys that got cut from other schools, guys that weren't sure of themselves yet, you know. So I had a lot of other battles on the front with the Cyclones for the most part. Like, I had dudes that number ones, number twos, starters, been in big moments. My first couple years at Porterville, I've had guys, you know, because of COVID, that had a lack of experiences, weren't bought in team-wise, like, just hadn't proved themselves yet. And so they were always consumed with proving themselves, you know, as opposed to buying into your role and enjoying your team's success and enjoying being there with your teammates every day. It was tough to get them to transition to that, just because they haven't ever been the dude before, and they were getting the dude innings, if that kind of makes sense. So I think a lot of that will change as, you know, as recruiting goes on. I have a really good class coming in this year, and it's full of freshmen. You know what I mean? Not 15 transfers. So it's full of guys that haven't been coached by their college coaches, that their first experience will get to be with me. And I'm really, really excited for that moving forward. But, you know, the culture stuff like that, and the word spreading that, hey, coach treats you good here at PC, that's already happened. I already have a couple transfers coming in that were kickbacks that, you know, hey, my coach it's just tough to play for. I just want to play for a coach that's going to let me do me. And I'm like, yep, there you go, man. So it's already starting to happen. It's just, you know, like anything, it's going to take a little bit of time. So, yeah.
So what are the type of players like that you're interested in bringing into the type of program that you want to do? Well, I remember, like, when I was with the Cyclones, it's like, yeah, you know, and I think this is kind of what you try to work on at Taft and when we were at West Hills, and now you're trying to bring this into Porterville. It's like, you fucking love hitting home runs.
Yeah, players with tools, man. Like, even if you're raw,
Yeah.
I'm experienced enough with player development, and me, I'm good with tech too, but just players with tools. And nowadays, like, honestly, I don't want this to sound bad by any means, but players that have ran through facilities, right? So, like, I love pitchers from Fast or from Rogue or from other places that have had, like, they know how to do prehab with weighted balls before they get to college. They know how to do post-tap. They know their drill series. Like, they know how to do pull downs correctly. Just guys that have been coached up by experienced coaches, like yourself. That's a big help to me, because one tough thing about Cali JUCO is you don't have a lot of money for assistant coaching, right? So there could be days where it's just me and 50 dudes out there, So it's tough for me to get those guys that are polished and sit 88, 89 right now, but at least guys that have been through the process, that have tools, maybe some late bloomers. There's a guy named Braxton Lorenzini that I coached at West Hills College, that he came in 84 to 86, and within 8 months or 6 months, he was 93, 94, got drafted, I think, the 32nd round or something like that. And he was just pitching for Team Israel this past series. So, I don't always get the top guys. It's just, the diamonds in the rough. And if you have tools and you're willing to work hard, I feel like I have a lot of answers that I can show you. So,
Right.
Yeah, man. But in terms of, like, who the player is, right? Like, I want to get a good feel for you on the phone and just see where your confidence level is at. You can hear it with most players on the phone, where they are, how they feel about themselves. And I know that a lot of the Cyclones that I brought in, they were confident, but they're sure of themselves, and they weren't afraid of big moments. That was one thing about us, is that we wanted the good side of the big moment. You know what I mean? And man, how many big moments can you think on? Like, there's just tons of them over the summers that we played together, and that's not the case for everybody, So,
Right.
But yeah, man.
No, we just go
Yep.
pull out the Rolodex, all the good memories.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got quite a few of them.
We got.
Hey everybody, I hope you're enjoying this episode with JL. I know I am. And I'm here to ask you, middle of this episode, to help us grow the channel. None of this is possible without you guys providing your feedback, providing, likes and shares. I'd love you guys to share this episode with, your friends or anybody who'd be interested in going to a school like Porterville, or, guys who are looking for advice on how to enhance their game as they come up through baseball, right? Let's expand this community. Let's get more and more people to watch this episode. We can create a really good community of people to help each other, provide value for one another throughout everyone's careers. That's what I'm saying. Just, a couple of likes, some shares, some comments. Give me some feedback if you need, you guys are interested in specific guests, that you would find some value, that you believe you would find some value in. I'll leave you with that. Back to JL. So now when you're, most people see JUCO, and I think rightfully so, was using it as that stepping stone to move on to the next level. What is that, how do you balance, working with the kid on player development side to make sure he's ready for that next level, whether that's a D1, D2, NAIA, wherever he goes, but then match that with trying to bring a quality program that competes for championships in California?
Well, this is something that I have to work on. I'm different than most coaches. I sit on the player development side probably too heavy. So as soon as you step foot here in the fall, like, you're getting analyzed right away. Like, you're getting your broad jump, your 5-10-5, your 10-40, 60-yard splits. You're getting pull downs from center, from shortstop. We're getting mile per hour track from catcher position. Like you grab Soto with pitching is right away. You know what I mean? Like, hitter. We have blast accounts for hitters. You're getting exit velocities taken. Like as soon as you get here, like we're getting as much information and data on as we possibly can, because that's a okay. So like I like to be super transparent with all these things, right? So like I'll post these things up for the whole team to see, because they need to know where they're at. And if you're someone that's behind on your physical skills, like I'm hoping that that's going to motivate you in some way, right? Like who wants to be last on the 60-yard dash? Who wants to be last on your broad jump, right? Like who wants to be last on vertical jump? Like that's probably the worst to be on the team, is to have the least amount of hops. You know what I mean? So like I want them to see that, and then to motivate them on a daily basis. But it's also for me, like, okay, what player am I really going to put more time into right now, right? Am I going to put more time into the dude that pulls down at 94 and his exit velo is at 96, or am I going to put more time into the dude that's throwing 78 and hitting 81? And that sounds bad, because I do spend time with all my players, but to play at a high level, you need your best players to play their best. And those are the guys that you have to spend a little bit more time developing on. So sometimes, I do spend way too much time developing players, but I've had to the last couple of years. You know what I mean? Like I've had to survive. Now with better players coming in that have already had coaches like you and have been trained, and we can kind of move on to things at a faster rate. And also, like I have a whole program instilled now. My first year I had to teach everybody everything all by myself, and then now they know how to run it, and they can teach the players, the incoming freshmen and this, that, and the other. But I think it is just my own judgment on talent, like what's good enough. Like if my players are looking bad mechanically, like I'm going to spend a ton of time on that. But I do need to improve on mixing in the triple cuts and the relays and the hour-long PFPs and throwing my fungo over the...
Oh, fuck PFP.
Yeah, I know,
fuck
dude.
that.
I know.
No.
We do PFPs for 5 minutes, right? Like we put the timer on, and you just
throw the ball to first base.
You sprint out there and you sprint off, baby. So, and what's fun too, man, is like I'll let my pitchers do PFPs without me around, right? And I noticed if they go over to the corner in right field and they get on PFPs without me around, it's just a way better atmosphere, right? Because how many times have you seen pitchers just shit themselves right up there and right to start practice, right? Bunts, PFPs to start practice off. Coach is already pissed. Everybody's on edge now, and pitchers are not looking forward to meeting up with their pitching coach and running because of that. So I try to eliminate that stuff, man. Like I want my players to want to get practice every day. Like how are we supposed to get any better? Or how are we supposed to practice winning or being successful or having that positive vibe or that inner spirit of wanting to win and never stop? Like if you don't want to be at practice, or like you're ready to go home in April, like that's just not where you want to be as a player, man. And that's the good thing about coaching summer ball. Before I got to be a head coach spring wise, is I got to hear from all you dudes about how your coach treats you. There's so many players that they win like 40, 50 games a season and say, yeah, but I hate my coach. It's like, well, what's the point then? You're just a number there to win. You don't like your life. Like I just don't get it. I just don't get it. So, you know how I do things, and I'm hoping the word gets out in the Valley more at Porterville, where this is a safe place to play. And even though it hasn't been a winner in the past, like good things are coming,
I mean, and like I sit there and like that's what I always hated about college ball. For me, at least, on my end, it's like why I always enjoyed. It was almost I would get to April and I'd be like, oh fuck, May's coming around and June's coming around. I get to go see you. I get to go see Shane. I get to go see all the old school guys like Smythe, Lundeen, Perico, all these guys we got in the group. It's like then those were the best times. that I remember. Like my high school experience was dog shit.
Yep.
My college experience was dog shit because
Yep.
I just played for asshole coaches.
Yep.
But it's, you know, that's why I think where I try to tell guys when, you know, they're coming to ask me for recruiting stuff, I'm like, just, you know, find a coach that you vibe with. And it's, you know, I try to, as much as possible, and it's, you know, hard to convince a kid to go out to the Central Valley, but it's like, dude, like, I give you a ringing endorsement all the fucking time because I'm like, those were like the best 4 years I ever had playing baseball.
Yeah.
As dog shit player as I was, it's like, those are the best years I had.
And you weren't dog shit. You weren't dog shit at all.
Don't be doing that. But it's like, you know, but you're right. It's like, you can only be successful. How successful can you be if you're not having fun with it? It's like what I said, like, I enjoyed my time at Cloud because the guys I vibed with to a decent amount. We had good times, but we were a dog shit team.
Yep.
But then I get to Concordia and we were good when I was there, but I didn't hate it by the strong language, but I just didn't vibe with the people there, and I just didn't like my time there.
Yep.
And it's like, if you can have that combination of good team with good vibes, as we did with the Cyclones, and as you're trying to work on at Porterville, I'm like, it's just a match made in heaven for most people, right?
Yeah, and that's like what I'm trying to tell them. Like I told my pitchers, I was like, dude, what do you guys want? We'll raise money and we'll buy it, right?
Right.
You guys want a center field camera? Done. Do you guys want pocket pass, every weighted ball, trampoline, wrist weights? You guys want a cabana in the bullpen so you don't get so hot? You know, like, you guys want a Mr. Fan over here too? Like, just anything they want. You know, I want them to know that, you know, even though this program hasn't won a ton in the recent past, like, it has everything you'd want here, every resource that you'd want here. And I'm going to treat you well, and I'm going to coach you hard, and you're going to be a lot better as a player in person after the 2 years that you're here. And that's the whole goal. And, you know, we haven't won much in 2 years, but we've had 16 out of 18 sophomores signed this year to four-year schools on scholarship. And that's, I think, more than they've had, you know, commit in the last decade. So,
right.
So I'm going to work hard for you, you know?
Yeah. So you would mention when you bring in a guy day one or bring in the new crop of people, you go day one, you go through 60s, you go through broad jumps, you go through vertical jumps. Can you go a little more in depth on what you and your staff, like you, Wyatt, and I saw you had two other coaches, their names escape me right at this moment. Yeah. But like, how do you guys utilize, the analytical age that we're entering this, or we're right in the middle of it, right? Analytics, technology, like, what do you guys use, and how do you use it to improve your player development to help these guys move on to the next level?
Okay, so getting all their measurements right away is going to hold them accountable. Okay, so if we're going to test out once a month and we're going backwards on things, then we have to sit down and have a conversation on either what we're doing off the field or what our diet and sleep regimen is, and then also it's going to show where our progress is throughout the year. A lot of players, their freshman year to their sophomore year make a ton of progress physically. I mean, it doesn't have to just be their 60-yard dash, but improving how far you can jump, how high you can jump, like those things all fuse together for how fast your body can move. And as a coach, I want my hitters and pitchers moving as fast as possible, with their core, and jumping comes straight from the core. So getting all those measurements early, to me, hold them accountable, and then I also get to, we also get to see our progressions and where we're at with that. But in terms of the tech side, like, I love blast sensors. Like, for me, just getting to see all their measurements in one day, it's like, okay, like, I'll set up a tee at the same height for everybody, so it's the same pitch, right at their hip. And just to see, like, okay, who's steep, who's not, I'll have them all stand in the same place. What their hand speed are, exit velocity. On the back end, we'll have like a max radar machine right back there. And it helps me who doesn't have a big coaching staff on hand, because Wyatt is my only in-person coach. Right, the other two live in other states, just kind of help out with recruiting and stuff like that. And, so being able to use these metrics, like I can get way more done as opposed to me just sitting there watching them take 3-4 rounds of batting practice and using my own eyes. Like I can sit home at night and get into the database and just see like, okay, this is where everybody's at. This is what they're doing. This is where we need to focus on improving, and kind of build up a plan per player so that we can get to a consistent swing path or where we feel we should be with that person in their swing. So we do that a lot. We like to find like optimum attack angles. You know what I mean? So like if you're 5'8", 140 pounds, like you want to have a focus of hitting a ball in a different area than the big boys. You know what I mean? So,
right.
Trying to use those numbers to not only evaluate players, but to build a training regimen for them so that they at least have a plan, and for us to kind of decide like, okay, what's your best success going to be as this type of baseball player? If you're not a home run hitter, then attack angle should consistently be at 15. You know what I mean? So it's things like that. And with kids nowadays, like they want to know the why about stuff, dude. Like they don't want to just hear coach's stupid opinion.
Right.
They don't care. They want to know why. And if I at least have some data backing up my decisions, it helps kind of mend fences with players that don't play as much as they should,
Right.
And I think like with Rapsodo, with pitching, like I find that way more valuable than the hitting side. But it helps a ton. Like you can tell what a good breaking ball is, but if you have two right-handed pitchers that are 83 to 86, and one slider's at 2,800 RPM and one slider's at 2,300 RPM, like I'm going to want to bring in the guy with the 28 in the eighth inning against three righties, that makes an easy decision for me, and it doesn't make me second guess myself. Does that kind of make sense? So it solidifies how I feel about things, and the players know it too. Okay, like I said, I'm transparent to data, so I post this stuff up for everybody to see, and it does hurt. Of course, it hurts some feelings, but everybody has to see where they're at, and that's just a part of the culture and buying into your role. But we don't only use it to evaluate players, but to develop off of too. And like I've learned a lot with the last 2 years with like the difference between true spin and gyro and stuff like that. And so now I'm working on getting pitchers that throw upper to mid 80s, so we can have a little bit more fun with pitch development. So
yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like that's one like I know you like where you said like players are just they want transparency and they want to know the why, and I think that's one of those things that I replay this on, like I've talked about this on podcasts before, where I think like my generation or like people now turning 30, we were like the last group of like high schoolers into college who this stuff didn't apply. Like I still remember when I went down the Arizona Fall Classic, and like that was the first time I'd ever like really seen radar guns. Yeah. People like radar gunning me, and that was my senior year of high school. Yep. Right. And then it was still in that era where, if you had a radar gun, you asked your coach like, hey, what was I throwing? They just like they tell you to shut the fuck up and go go run your polls. Yeah. And don't worry about that.
Hit your spots, buddy.
Just hit your spots. But now, it's like you're saying, it's like players now in the 2020s are just so much smarter, and that's where you've got to, you as a coach and you and your assistants have to be that much more ahead of them, or at least on the level where you can say like, here's why we're seeing this, or what we're seeing, and why we need to fix this, we need to fix that. And that's one of those like those ways I'm like, if I wish I had that when I was in junior college, like where could we have gone and what could we have been like. For you playing is like, you and I are in that same boat where it's like, shit, if we had blast motions, if we had Rhapsody, we had all these training programs we had, like where the hell could we be? And obviously that's very speculative, but it's, we had that work ethic to accomplish those things, but we just didn't have the methods.
Yep. And you especially, you're like you were one of the first pitchers I ever saw really messing with weighted balls.
Yeah.
Like you were one of the only ones around I saw, and that's kind of just shows how like progressive you are to where you're like, hey, I'm a big dude. I can throw the ball playing long toss super far. Like, why am I not chucking 90 right now? You know what I mean?
Right.
And so, like we've all, me and Shane Dyer, we've always known you were going to be successful just because of, like, you were always trying to take that next step forward and finding out a new way for you to crack the code. You know what I'm saying? And there's not too many people that are like that, bro. And if you're like that in baseball and you're always developing with the game and you're not falling behind, like, you should be relatable to every generation every year. You know what I mean? And like, I shouldn't ever be the 60-year-old coach that sits on a bucket and just yells at everybody all day. You know, like, I can't be that guy. Like the coach that I used to play for. You know, it's just making and it sucks too because you're not always right when you're like this, but just being able to admit that, hey, there's a better way to do things. I can move on from this. And to me, I think that's just being smart. Like, the best coaches around you are going to do it. So why do you want to fall behind those dudes, you know? And if something works for a while, it's not going to work forever, you know? Like,
right.
So you might as well just take what you can from your experiences and be open-minded. And that's like, you know, once that kind of shuts off in a coach, it just they kind of die inside, you know. So and the players can feel that, you know.
Yeah, I made that rule with myself that if, like, the day I decide I feel like I know everything, I'm like, all right, might as well just retire and hopefully I make a shit ton of money. I can just go retire to Cabo for the rest of my life.
Maybe I should be in spring training this year pitching, you know.
Yeah. So I'll let we got a couple more things I wanted to ask you. It's just like, what are, you know, just good because I mean you're a treasure trove of stories. We, you know, you and I have been through so many experiences together. Yeah. But what's your, you know, in your short time in Porterville, from your time at West Hills or at Taft or even with the Cyclones, like what's like 2 or 3 like your favorite memories? Because I know you're a really good storyteller as well, where you're very good at.
I know. You know, I can go forever. So
you can go for a
my bad, dude. You can cut some of this stuff out if you have to. But
no, please don't.
All right, so
like I got so much time.
I know. So at Porterville, I haven't got to, you know, like I'm not a big like favorite wins or losses coach, but I like the little moments, right? Like I had a pitcher who's pitched probably 80 innings for us the last 2 years, and he came in at 70. He was 75, 77 miles an hour. Right?
Oh, is this? I know this guy. Do I know him?
No, you don't. You don't know this guy. Okay,
but Boogie?
No, not Boogie. But Boogie has some good moments too. But this guy came in 75, 77, and we're in a fall game, and he's sitting 83. Right, sophomore fall, sitting 83. He comes into the dugout. I go and tell him, like, Ryan, hey, sitting 83, bro, topping 85. And he just looks at me in the face. He goes, whoa, you know what I mean? Just starts going off. And it's like, I've never seen someone so excited to throw 83 miles an hour. And it's like that's how special baseball is, dude. Like, it's not everything's about going pro or like making millions and millions of dollars. Like, there's some little battles within yourself every day that you have to deal with, that you have to go through, that you have to, you know, and like, when you can just feel yourself becoming successful and getting better and better, like, that's sick, dude. Like, that's better than winning, in my opinion.
Right.
So those little moments are cool. Favorite win ever, of course, is probably the Ryan Sullivan home run at the NBC World Series. Top of the ninth or bottom of the ninth, 2 outs, 1-2 count. Home run over left field. Walk off Caleb Squire in extra innings. They shut out the lights because it was like 3 a.m. and we'd all have our cell phones up, just trying to get out of there, just ready to stay up all night. So, and then, you know, at Porterville, you know, we had 16 guys commit to 4 years this year. That's been probably my favorite moment. And then we had our first walk-off win against my good friend, Coach Brian Moses in Antelope Valley College. That was our first walk-off win ever. That was awesome. And then here's my big story from this year, though, okay? And people say it's fake. It's not, all right? But we were going to play a game at Taft College against my former school, and I had a dream the night before of one of my players named Stefan Leo, good outfielder, just power hitter, you know what I mean? But I had a dream that he came off the bench and hit a go-ahead home run, right? And so we're driving down to the field, and I was going to start him that day, but in my dream, he came off the bench, right? And so I was like, well, we haven't won in like 4 or 5 games. I'm going to go with this dream right now. And so he's sitting on the bench. 8th inning comes around. I look to a hitter that I'd normally put in this situation, and then I go call to Stefan. He comes down. I tell him to swing for it, obviously. And then everything that happened in the dream, the deja vu, clicked in. I gave him he was up in the count. I gave him the green light swing sign. He absolutely smashed the ball over left field. We go on to win, right? And everybody say I'm lying, but I was telling multiple players about this dream before the game, okay? And I also told my coaches. So right when it happened, everybody just went nuts and thought, thought I was a prodigy or something like that. But that was one of my favorite moments of the year. Probably one of my favorite coaching moments all time, just because of how funny the whole scenario and situation and how lucky that was to happen.
That's a one in the middle.
Yeah, dude. It was just a fun moment for all of us to have together. What a weird win that it happened like that. The coach was talking about it, and then I start going off about just funny speaking things into existence, and then they start
right,
and they start just laughing at me and stuff. But that was good, dude. And then just all the championships with the Cyclones and all those moments in Wichita.
Which one was your favorite? Which one was your favorite one? What was your favorite championship?
Well, it was my first one. It was my first one. Yeah, it was my first one. So
that was the one.
I was at Double Angel Field.
Was that the one where we screwed over Double Angel or game day?
Okay, so that was my favorite tournament. That was my favorite because we were down by 6 or 7 runs in multiple games. Right? That was the craziest. I remember when Grant came in, we were down 10-2, right. And he came in and threw 5 in the third.
Because I should have bet in that semifinal.
Yeah, no, but you were. You were though.
I couldn't find the zone to save my life that day.
Yeah, that was one of the only days.
Yeah.
But that was my favorite series. My first one was my favorite because we were all a bunch of losers, my whole team. None of us in the spring won. Every single player was from a losing program, including myself. And so we didn't have anybody on the team that was at a winning program out of 25 guys, and that was weird.
Yeah.
And so we went on to win league that year when we weren't supposed to. And then we went to the World Series and we won our first game 15-0 and 15 run down, and it was just a sight to see, So
I'll tell you why. So we'll expand on that story a little bit. The Double Angel, right?
Yeah.
Where the best, because it goes with your dream thing.
Yeah.
Is why am I forgetting his name? Oh God, was it Zach?
Zach English, rest in peace. Yep.
Yeah. God rest his soul. But he was in left field, just doing his hacks or whatever, and then he was the one that hit that game-winning home run for us. He's just what you were saying is he's dreaming being up in that key spot.
Well, he came up to me and he said, "Coach, I'm gonna hit the home run that wins it." And he was off the bench, right? He wasn't starting,
right?
And he's like, "Coach, you need to put me in." And Michael Graff, remember Michael Graff?
Yeah.
He looked at me.
Yeah, I remember
he looked at me. He's like, "Coach,
fucking legend."
He's like, "Coach, you got to put him in." I was like, "All right, Zach." Get in there, boy. And he told me he's going to hit a curveball off Stevie Paggendarm. And he hit a fucking moonshot, man.
Yeah. He's, you know.
And remember, he said, "We're going to Wichita around the bases." That was special, dude. Sorry, Steve.
We could just have we could figure this out maybe down the future line. We'll find a way to just get all the boys together for this podcast.
Oh, man. That would go viral probably.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
that would put some numbers up. So I'll leave you with one thing.
Yep.
What is because I got to get you back to the kids and everything like that. What is one piece of advice, your biggest piece of advice, I would say, for the amateur baseball player who's looking to find a way to, you know, eventually find their way to into your dugout at Porterville or anywhere college-wise, or trying to find pro? What's your biggest advice to a high school player?
Oh man, it's just man, the day ends at midnight. You know, the day ends at midnight. Everything you did that day is done, and the next day is just a new opportunity to get it going again. So, just not living in the past, and just not living in the future. And just realizing what an opportunity you have every day, and seeing how many of those days you can stack up in a row, you know. And you know, I've seen a lot of really good players throughout their 4 years become complacent at one point in time, and that's usually why they don't play pro ball. Okay, so especially on the pitching side of things. All right, so I've seen a ton of freshmen come in, 88, 91. Have first team all conference, freshman pitcher of the year. Sophomore year comes around, hey, they're still at 88, 91, you know. Junior year comes around, oh, now they have a cutter, but they're still 88, 91. And yeah, they're being successful, but are they using those days every day? Are they stacking those days up to grow and develop? And the guys that do that, man, they make it the farthest. And I've been lucky enough to coach 3 or 4 players, right, like that I've noticed weird things. Okay, so I'll give you an example of Ryan Sullivan, Gonzaga graduate, a kid named Matt Burkhart, University of Northern Colorado, and a kid named Ellis Kelly, University of Utah, Pac-12 Defender of the Year. But then a catcher named Kennedy Badgett as well. But those guys that coach like that, they play every game like 40,000 people are watching, right? They don't care that 8 people are there at Nelson Farms. They play like they're at Yankee Stadium, you know, and never giving in to your atmosphere, never giving into the scoreboard, just playing like you're pro every day. That stands out to a coach so much.
Right.
It's so noticeable, and then just being rock solid through emotions, you know, like not too up, not too down. But those guys have taught me something, and those are the players I see make it the furthest, man. I really do. They got an inner peace to them, and they just play hard no matter what. So that's my advice, dude. Like you can go anywhere you want if you take that advice. And if you're a pitcher, go, like there's so many places to go pitch at. Don't go rot on a bench and get 4 innings if you're a good arm, dude. Like if you're a good arm and you want to make it, like I know the easy choice is to go to the really nice school that wins all the time, but you aren't going anywhere after that unless you have innings, you know. And, so go somewhere that you're going to be able to compete at, play at, even if it's not, you know, in San Diego or Los Angeles. You know what I mean? Like, what if it's in Nebraska somewhere? You know, people get drafted out of that state all the time. So, just go where the fit is. And like you said earlier, I think you need to get to know your coach. And if you can vibe with your coach and you have a good feel for him, you should probably listen to that. So,
yeah,
that's what I got, dude. Baseball is a crazy game. It's not fair. Every day's hard.
Yeah.
You know, every day is going to be hard. That's just what it is. So, really appreciate you having me on, though, Cole. Like,
yeah. So
cool to see your success.
Like, where where can people find you on social media, or they want to get in contact with you?
Yeah, they can find me on Twitter. I think it's at jreal029. I'm on Instagram too.
So the best.
No, I used to tweet a lot more before I became a head coach. So
Yeah, you have to chill out a little bit.
yeah, I can't be as controversial. No, I'm just kidding. But no, if you want to send me video, of course you can send me a video on those platforms. I'm on field level 2. No, I'm easy to find, bro. I'm an email or a phone call away. So easy,
Awesome.
man.
JL, thank you so much for coming on. It's great to see you. Pleasure to have you on. I know you're one of the, I don't want to, butter you up at all, but I still put you down in the Mount Rushmore and probably at the top of best coaches I ever had throughout my entire athletic career. And you meant, my last few years in college, like you meant so much to me, and help be the person I am today.
I really appreciate that, Cole. And you are the OG of the Cyclones, and as much as you learn from us and stuff like that, like we learned a lot from you too, man. And we look forward to seeing you every year, seeing you develop. I remember that one year when we had absolutely no pitching. I think it was just you and Bryce Kearns carried our team that whole summer, dude.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And you were coming off limited innings at Cloud, and you had to step up and be the big dog for us all summer long. And shoot, if you weren't consistent, I don't think you ever missed a game. You know what I mean? And you lived in Castle Rock or some shit. You know what I'm saying? So, guys like you, and I don't want to butter you up, but guys like you that are consistent, progressive, and just show up every day and stack those days on top of each other, they make it, you know what I mean? Whether it's in baseball or whatever, dude. So there's a lot to be said to that, because it's a dying breed. You know what I mean? So you just keep at it, man. I'd love to be on here again one day.
Absolutely.
And real proud of you. Real proud of you.
Wow. I appreciate that. Awesome. Thank you so much, JL.
Awesome, Cole. We'll talk to you soon, man.
Thank you so much to JL. It was a pleasure to have him. We'll look forward to having him on again. I hope you guys enjoyed the interview. You can find me, Cole Thomas, on Instagram and on Twitter at Cole Thomas Fast for new updates, clips from the show, drill, anything you want on my Instagram. It's all up there, right? You can follow Fast Baseball at Fast Baseball on Instagram. You can follow Fast Baseball Dev on Twitter, and you can follow Fast Baseball on TikTok for fun little videos. You can follow Fast Performance at Fast Performance CO on Instagram and on Twitter, and you can go to our website fastcolorado.com to learn more information about the facility, things that are going on. Maybe if you want to train here, we'd love to have you guys come in and train. You can find all that information at fastcolorado.com. Help the show out. One last thing, help the show out. Give me some comments. Give me some people you'd be interested in hearing me talk to. And I'd love to see what you guys come up with some feedback. We will see you next Tuesday.